So today we're going to show you all of the equipment that I purchased for the beehive, to just give you an idea of where all the donations are going. Right now I'm going to start off what protective gear I purchased along with some of the equipment. So let's do that. One of the most important pieces of equipment, the smoker. A lot of people say it scares the bees, making them think that there's a fire in their hive. They go and they collect honey. Well, from a lot of things that I've heard and listened to, actually what it does is it cuts off their communication. It masks their pheromones and other things, so they can't communicate. So they dive deeper into the hive, hoping that they can recover that sense. Next we have my beekeeper's hat. Stylish, what do you think? And the net, those two elastic bands go up under the arms so that it seals off all of the bees from being able to go up and underneath. Also got a pair of gloves that go up over the elbow. Again, elastic band, keep the bees out. Bee brush, nice and soft. And in this hand is what they call a J hive tool. And I'll show you exactly why that J is important, but we'll go over that in a couple seconds. So that's kind of what I got for the equipment. I might need a couple of other small things, but in all honesty, I think if I needed to put these in, I could actually do it with a little bit of preparation. So next is the actual hive and the stand and all those components, and we're going to go over that right now. So first up is the actual stand. It's 12 inches off the ground. And the reason why you want to keep the hive 12 inches off the ground is to keep other insects and things of that nature off your hive and out of your hive. So this is just really quickly constructed. As you can see, I bought it at South Florida Bee Supplies down in Miami. Pretty cool. Next piece of equipment is the base. So you can see the base. The base I chose has grating on it. That helps with ventilation, as well as if a mite issue comes into play, when the mites fall off the bees, it will actually fall down onto the ground and not be allowed to come back up. Also on this base is a little piece of wood with some slots in it, and this is a opening reducer. And what that does is, normally bees come up here and enter the hive, and it will be totally open. But at the beginning, you don't have as many bees, because there will be up to 60,000 bees when this hive is actually full. But when you start out, you're only about 11,000 bees, about 3 pounds of bees. So what you do to allow them to protect their home, you actually put this spacer in. So now they only have that much space to protect instead of the whole length of this, which is really important, because you will have robbing from other hives and things of that nature. So you want them to be able to protect their hive. All right. So next is the 10 deep, or the 8 deep hive box. this is actually where the brood, the queen, will be laying her eggs, and they'll be storing their honey and water and anything at pollen, whatever they need to survive. And inside these are frames. This is a plastic board with a wax coating. And this is a great foundation. This is what they call a foundation. It's a foundation for them to start actually creating their comb. There's, I chose the 8 frame box instead of the 10, just for size sake. Maybe down the road I will decide to do a actual 10, but for now that was my choice. So the next thing, let me go back for just a second. When I'm starting out, this box will have the inner cover and the telescope cover on the top, and that's all that will be on it at the beginning, because what I'm going to be doing is building this colony up. But once this is well established, I can then put what they call a super on top of this to allow the bees to make their honey and their comb up on top, but to keep the queen from coming from down here and up into the honey super, they have a thing called the queen excluder. And what this does is the queen and the drones are much bigger, and this keeps the queen and the drones from actually going up into the upper chamber. And that will sit right like that. Now, the bees will come in, all the work bees will come in, they'll go through, and they'll either do that or they'll come up and work on what is called the super, which is this. This is a super. This is a medium super. And it actually has its own frames with foundation. Now, the plan for the fundraiser is I'm going to buy the Flow Hive frames. Those are the ones where I can just turn a tool and it will actually allow the honey to flow down through a tube and into a bucket, and not disturbing the bees. I thought that it would be a good idea for me to learn how a real super works. So I decided to go ahead and buy this. And another reason, those Flow Hive frames are probably not going to come in until December, January of next year. So my thought process is, well, if I can score some honey this year with the new hive, the only way to be able to do that is if I go ahead and grab the super. So now that we got the super, we actually have what they call the inner cover. The inner cover has a hole. This is actually just goes on top of the super or the brood when we're just starting out. And this actually is also good for ventilation, allows some air to actually flow. You don't need a lot. They regulate their own heat. Not their own heat. They regulate their own temperature by fanning their wings. One of the reasons why people will hear when they're near a hive, they'll hear that heavy buzzing. It's because a lot of the bees are actually either cooling the front. They'll sit right here and they'll just push air with their wings into the hive, as well as inside what they're doing is they're actually evaporating the water off the honey, because it's going to be, I believe it's 18.6% water before they'll cap the honey, they'll cap the honey, and that means that it's ready to go. And they usually cap that with a white wax on top. So, and the last piece on this is actually this telescoping lid. And as you can see, it's got a metal top. And the reason for the metal top is quite simply to protect the wood so that it doesn't get rotted. And it actually is another piece of protection for the bees. So there you have it. Kilted bees, honey, it's first hive, and the project for the day is to paint them. And as you can see down there on the left there, right there is the paint. And we're going to paint these. And the colors I'm decided are a purple, a in-between purple, blue, and a blue. Why paint? The number one reason to paint your hive is for weather protection. You use an exterior paint, latex-based or oil-based, it doesn't matter. But what it does is it prolongs the life of the hive because it's going to sit out in the elements, it's going to be rained on, and sealing it with a paint just protects it, and it makes that hive last a long time. So that's about it for the hive. I'm probably going to start painting here very shortly, but I wanted you guys to see what the donations have done so far.